afternoon, students. So I will be starting with the last unit of your course, that is low power CMOS logic circuits. So first thing arises, what is the necessity of low power? As you already know, in the past 40 years, there is a tremendous uh, technology transformations, right from your homes to offices to transportation, everywhere you can find out that lot of transformation has been done. So this transformation is ultimately on the basis of your VLSI. In VLSI, we have scaling and other things. So that gives us a very good understanding of the things around. And the most promising thing, which cannot be avoided in these days, is that we have witnessed a tremendous thing as far as your evolution is being concerned in your ICs, but batteries are not being involved in the past. So that's the reason there is always some sort of demand to work on these technologies so that your devices can work on low power. As we are putting more number of ICs and more number of transistors in a given area, what happens? Power density is actually being increasing. So to avoid that, it is necessary that we will working with low power CMOS circuits. So in the past, you can see that earlier we are working with nickel cadmium batteries, and now we have some new battery technologies like uh, NIMH. So here you can find out that things are evolving but not as required. So in this way, we always focus these days on low power CMOS logic circuits. That means with the present things, how we can work on low power things. So let's start with that chapter. So what we are going to discuss in this particular module. So here you can see we will be discussing something about your significance of power dissipation in CMOS digital ICs. Then we will be working towards low power design through voltage scaling, and then estimation on optimization of switching activity, and last is reduction of switched capacitance. So these are the certain things why which we are looking forward to uh, go for with your low power design. So as we already know that when you talk about CMOS, we always talk about average power dissipation. So your CMOS consists of two kinds of networks. One is PMOS, another is NMOS. So in PMOS, it is basically acting as pull-up network. This is being used to pull up the capacitance. And NMOS are being called pull-down networks. So we have actually replaced all the capacitances with equal capacitance. So the capacitance is actually summation of your drain capacitance, your interconnect capacitance to the next stage, and your input capacitance to the next stage. So these all are being combined together to form a load capacitance. So instead of studying individual capacitance, now we are just focusing on charging and discharging of the particular capacitance. Now this is the average thing. Why? Because this VDD is being connected to this only once, not in the second cycle. So in first cycle, it is being pulled up, and now the connection is being removed, and now it will be pulled down. So it is being done only once. So that's why this is called average cycle. So this derivation we have already done in the previous lectures. So you can see that your average power is function of load capacitance, your VDD square, this is your power supply, and clock frequency at which your system is operating, the frequency at which your system is operating. So you are familiar with this. So from here you can easily see that if you want to reduce the power consumption, power dissipation of your device, what you are going to do, because you cannot work with slow devices, you want things to be fast. So 3 gigahertz is the peak thing. Now we are not going beyond 3 gigahertz. We are actually putting more number of cores in your ICs, in your microprocessors, because after that it will provide tremendous amount of heat. So heat sink capacities need to be evolved. So to avoid that, what people are doing in microprocessors, they are putting more number of cores so that function will be distributed and heat remains same. The only thing we can play with is your load capacitance and your power supply. So these days you can see that we are actually reducing the power supply to certain extent. So this you already aware of. Now here you can see that I am actually adding one more parameter, that is called activity factor. That is called activity factor. Now, what is the role of this activity factor? So here in a particular circuit, as far as your CMOS circuits, what is actually happening in your device? So your device will be going from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0. This is all about your digital circuits. So the more will be the activity for this thing, the more will be power dissipation. So this is being added, that for a particular operation, suppose you are having a 3-bit thing. So how many inputs are there? You will having 2 raised to power 3. That means 8 set of inputs. So out of 8 set of inputs, 5 are resulting in 1 and 3 are resulting in 0. So what we can see, 3 are actually drained. So your activity factor is 3 by 8. So that means this need to be added. So on the basis of this, your power dissipation is being affected. So the more active your device is, more will be the power dissipation. So then this thing need to be taken care of. That how much active your device is, that means it is going from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0 and so on. So this is being close together like this. That means activity factor is for multiple nodes. Suppose you are having this capacitance, this NMOS like this. So this is having a particular capacitance, this is having a particular capacitance, and this is having a particular capacitance. So if this is more active, we will keep it downwards. So the reason for that is it will be discharged immediately. Otherwise, it will discharge more from this node. So the better way is the more active node should be kept to the drain, this ground, so that if there is any activity, it will be drained immediately instead of draining all the capacitances. So this will save some amount of charging power in the coming cycles. Another kind of power dissipation that is involved in your devices is short circuit power dissipation. So we know that in CMOS, either of NMOS or PMOS is actually working, but that is not the real scenario. If you can see, this is your input going from high to low. This is your output going from low to high. In between, there is a region. There is a region, and here both are on, and this will gives you current. That means when this is in saturation mode, this is in saturation mode, this is on, this is on, and at that particular moment, VDD is actually connected to the ground, and very high current will flow, and you will obtain observe a peak here. So this peak is there. This is peak is there because of short circuit. So this is being included in the circuit. So here this is delay, this is K constant, this is frequency, this is threshold voltage, this is VDD. So this is expression for your short circuit. So one kind of power dissipation we have talked about in the previous slide is average power dissipation. This is short circuit power dissipation. Now, other than these two power dissipations, which we are looking forward to minimize is leakage power. And more prominently, we call it reverse leakage power dissipation. So this is the construction of a CMOS. So this is your NMOS, this is your PMOS. And when we actually construct this PMOS and NMOS, and we call it as a single tub, this is NVEL technology. Here we can see that a N and P sort of thing is being created. And this is nothing but a what we can say, this is a reverse bias diode. So whenever reverse bias diode is there is always a current conduction because of minority carriers. So this tends to give us some reverse leakage current. So this reverse leakage current is there. So these expressions are not very important. The main important thing as far as your level is concerned, undergraduate level students, the most important thing which is of concern is that you should understand. So the reverse leakage current is there, and this is being given by this area into junction, and this is your bias current. This is your Boltzmann's constant into volt temperature. So the more the temperature, the more will be the leakage current. So that need to be avoided. So to avoid this, we are putting guard rings and so many things in construction. So to avoid that, so this is the another kind of system which you are supposed to deal with. Then one more kind of leakage that is prominent these days, because these days we are working with uh, low devices, low voltage devices, sub threshold VT. So normally till date, what we assume that there is no power dissipation in the cases. What we assume that your device is not conducting. If your voltage applied at the gate is not more than threshold, your device will not conduct. But that is not the case these days. These days, we are working with low voltage devices. So what happens? Despite we are not applying a very high voltage at the gate, your device still start conducting. So that is called sub-threshold leakage. So there is some power dissipation due to this these days. So this is the major region of dissipation these days. So this need to be avoided. So this is being given by this particular expression where they are having their relative meaning. So you can find them in the book. This is gate to source voltage. This is drain to source voltage. This is your work potential, and this is width. This is length of the channel. This is your channel. This is conduction. This is dB's length, dn, and so on. But not required right now. Right now, you should be knowing that there is a problem called leakage power dissipation. So it's a specialized course which you want to opt. You can opt in the coming semesters. So overall, if we reduce the entire thing which we have discussed till now, that your total power is sum of average power dissipation, your short circuit current, your leakage current, and your static. That is your below threshold. So these are the things which are of quite concern these days. These three things: leakage and static. This is fixed, but if we are increasing the frequency, then we will look forward how we can optimize this. This is activity factor we already discussed. So now, how we can actually control them. These are the problems which we have discussed, that you're working for low power, and these are the factors on which your power actually depends. Now we will be actually working on how we actually can control the power dissipation. So here you can see the first thing which you can do is, if we scale voltage, then how you actually going to influence the working of device. So here you can see these two factors. You already know that this is your tau PHL delay when your system is actually moving from high to low transition, and this is your tau PLH where when your system is actually moving from low to high transition, and they are being constants. So they are for small channel devices. The one we have discussed is for large channel or long channel devices. So here you can see, if you scale the voltage, then what you are actually doing, you are reducing this particular factor. So if you reduce this factor, then delay is definitely going to increase. So they are having very close relation with each other. So here you can see this is being described in this particular graph, your normalized delay and your normalized power dissipation. So here you can see that when we are actually increasing the power supply, your delay is decreasing. But if you are increasing the power supply voltage, your power dissipation is increasing. So we should have something in between where we will have a break even, that delay should be minimal and your power dissipation should be minimal. We can't say that if we want a low power dissipation, yeah, we will be happy with this. But on the other hand, at low power dissipation, what you will observe, that your delay is maximum. Delay is maximum. On the contrary, you want delay to be minimum, but here you can see your power dissipation is on the higher side. So to get things working and you are getting a break even of the things, what you are looking forward, you will be working in this particular range and also try to reduce the delay. So that is important. So this is the case when you are actually scale the voltage. You are just playing with the one factor, that is VDD. Now, somehow the people start working with that, yeah, we are scaling the voltage, but we are not actually altering the threshold voltage, because changing threshold voltage is of great concern. The problem when you are actually changing the threshold voltage is you are actually increasing the leakage current. When your device is not operating, noise may trigger it, or maybe you're having sub-threshold conduction. So, but that is another concern. Right now, they are saying that, yeah, we are looking for voltage scaling and we want normalized delay to be minimal. What they are actually doing, they start reducing the threshold voltage. So here you can see the device. If you want to operate a device at 0.9 volts as VDD, what you have actually done, you have reduced the threshold voltage. So here you can see the reducing threshold voltage actually helps in your delay to a very good extent. So that is a good thing and good understanding. So that is of another understanding things, that yeah, you can operate your devices with low voltages also. But the other thing that is of concern is we are actually reducing the threshold voltage. So this will actually somehow affects your sub-threshold conduction and other things. So these things taken off, like which one is better under which conditions. So here you can see that you are actually scaling the voltage. So how you actually obtaining this? So you are having VDD. This is your input output circuit. This is your signal level converter. This entire exercise is there so that we can operate your devices at low voltage. So this is DC to DC voltage converter, and this is internal low voltage threshold voltage. So we are not actually converting the entire circuit to low voltage. We are actually picking up that this is the most critical node, which is consuming so much power. So we are just focusing on that particular node. So we are actually controlling the threshold voltage of that particular node using this particular circuitry. Other of them will be operating with the same thing. Why? Because if you change the VDD of the entire thing and you are changing threshold voltage of the entire devices, what is actually going to happen? It is going to increase the sub-threshold leakage. So we are just focusing on the critical nodes. So here you can see going on the same lines, that researchers suggested that they are going to use multi-threshold CMOS circuits. So contrary to the traditional thing that all the devices are having same threshold, that is not the case. Now, the one which are critical will have another kind of thresholds. The one which are not critical will have different kind of threshold voltages. So here you can see these devices have different threshold voltages, while this particular section which is being shaded like this will be low VT section. And how this threshold voltage is being actually controlled, that is being done at the time of fabrication, or maybe using some external circuitry as shown in the previous block diagram. So this is being assignment for you, and I want you people to study of your own and submit it in your assignment. This is the another strategy by which your voltage scaling can be done. So this is what I am going to discuss about low power dissipation in the current class. So that's all from my side. And if you have any doubt,